All right. What's going on, everybody? This is Josh, and I am on tonight with Sham and Magic. What's up, Sham?
What's up, bitches?
And what's going on, Magic?
Back.
We have wrapped up week number 1 in AFL. So here's how tonight's going to work. The first half of this show, we are going to go through all of the games from week 1. We got some scores, some highlights to share. We'll give our thoughts on them. We'll see how they matched up with what our predictions were on the previous podcast. At that point in time, we are going to advance. When we're done talking about these games, we're going to advance to week 2. We'll make an announcement in chat, and then you guys can start playing your week 2 games if you'd like, and we will transition the podcast to a week 2 preview show. So we're going to be with you for a while tonight. Hope you enjoy the show. I'm going to circle back with chat real quick just to make sure nobody has said anything like, hey, you guys aren't back on the air, assholes. Doesn't look like anybody is saying that, so let's get it started. But guys, before we get into week 1, I think we need to address something that happened in AFL today. I really wasn't going to address it because it's a situation where, with me having the platform of a podcast, anytime you address something where it's perceived as you versus somebody else, which is not the case, it's almost unfair when only one person has a voice. So I really didn't want to address it because that's not what's going on. But Joker left AFL. And with good reason, a lot of people in AFL, whether you were with us in Madden 11 or you joined us in Madden 25 or you joined us 2 years ago, a lot of people were concerned because Joker has been one of our most active core members throughout his entire time in AFL. So a lot of people were concerned, and we weren't going to address it. At the early part of today, we were just like, hey, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to move on. But we started talking, and we're like, hey, Joker's been such an important part of AFL. We probably need to address it just so everybody realizes, like, okay, number one, Joker's fine. Like, there's nothing personally that I'm aware of going on with him that led to this decision. So, like, any thoughts you had there, he's fine. 2, Joker and I are fine. Like, last night after our message where he let me know that he was leaving AFL, we joked around about something else. We're good. What this essentially stems from, and I'm not going to go into details. It's kind of on a need-to-know basis, and just trust me on this, guys. In a different league, there was a situation this week, and I think the safest way to say it, and I just got a Discord message, so I want to make sure that nobody messaged me. Okay, that chat was messed up. In a different league this week, there was a situation, and I think the safest way to say it is Joker and I were on different sides, opinion-wise, of how that situation should have been handled. It didn't directly have to do with Joker. It didn't directly have to do with me. We were on different sides of it. But from that, um, because I'm on a live podcast, I have to tell my daughter goodnight or she's not going to be quiet. So give me 1 second, fellas.
I love it.
Sham, you know how it is with kids. If they just keep saying goodnight, 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 they're going to do that for 2 hours if you don't answer them.
Right.
Okay, so Joker and I were on, I would say, opposite sides of what we thought was the right side of an argument. Not an argument, just a disagreement. And the tricky part of that is with AFL not having a league last year, this other league that I'm in and Joker's in, he's actually one of the commissioners over there. And his concern, and I don't want to speak for him, you guys can all reach out to him. He's not like off the face of the earth. I think his concern was that this was going to boil into like an AFL versus that league. And I'm not even mentioning the league because I don't want it to be a thing. Like, I don't want, I just don't want it to be a thing. I think he was afraid it was going to turn into a situation where like he has to be loyal to his AFL friends, and then he's also a commissioner over there. He made the decision to step away. I completely respect it. Joker and I are absolutely good. I promise you. Joker and Soaks are good. Joker and RVD are good. We were joking around last night after he made the message. I can promise you that when NBA free agency comes up, I'm going to be bugging him about moves the Nuggets make to try to make sense of the NBA salary cap. I don't really want to harp on any more the negative. What I do want to say about Joker is AFL has come a long way since Madden 11, and there's a very short list of people that I think are on like the Mount Rushmore of AFL. Like we're talking about Ridge, RVD, Magic, guys like that. Stokes, even though he joined a little bit later, Sham was on that list. But you don't get too far down the list before you mention Joker. He has been one of our most trusted, reliable, active owners since the beginning. He will be missed in AFL, and I need him to know, if he's listening, he's always got a spot in AFL if he ever decides that the timing is right to come back. But the message I want you all to know is he's fine. He and I are fine. It's just timing wise, he decided it was a good time to step away. And that is that. I hope you guys are all satisfied with that. And he is still obviously welcome in our chat. And, it's Joker. He's synonymous with AFL. He's always going to be an AFLer, whether he's in the league or not. So that's all I really want to say about that tonight. What I do want to focus on is week number 1. All the games are played. We had some surprising scores, but
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So does this count as a rage quit for me, even though I lost the game?
No.
I need a ruling on that, Magic, because
I mean, saying we played and he left.
So technically he wasn't even raging when he left. We were joking about a Homer Simpson gif he had sent me, and he did win the game. But I feel like we should give you this one, and I kind of feel like Joker would want to give it to you. So I think we tally it up as one for you.
All right,
I'm good with that.
First rage quit of Madden 20.
Yeah, thumbs down for me, buddy.
All right.
It's almost like a pity fuck. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter what that.
Yeah, buddy. Sorry.
K Will goes in. It is a rage quit. So we'll let everybody else decide. But guys, we had some incredible action. But I think it's only appropriate that with the first game we look at from week number 1 is with our last. And I want you guys to be patient with me because I threw a lot of stuff together at the last minute. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning last night when I realized the technology capabilities of the software I'm using. So I think this is going to get bigger and better as we go on. But if there's some misclicks or something, I apologize. But the first game we need to talk about on this podcast, and I'm already having trouble getting the thing up that I want. There we go. Nope, there's chat. Boom. And boom. There we go. Is we need to talk about our last Super Bowl champion, Danny Sanchez, because the last time we were on the field in AFL, Madden 19, he won the Super Bowl. So his Packers kicked off this week against the Minnesota Vikings. We talked about this was going to be a tough spot for Justin. Hadn't really touched Madden in a couple years. Danny's consistently one of the best players we have in the league. We talked about this game could get lopsided, and guys, that is the way that it played out on the field. But check out this highlight late in the game. Darnell Savage with an interception. You can see Justin's face on stream. Danny looks like he's going to get bottled up. No, circles back, does a ridiculous spin move, makes Justin's user miss. Justin clicks on another user miss. Looks like Justin's going to be able to save some face, but no, Danny splits them both. And Justin has to walk away from his screen. And Justin, you're my guy. We both know that you're going to get better at Madden as the year goes on, but when you get a highlight like that, I think we have to replay it. So we're going to look at it one more time. Darnell Savage with a sweet interception up the field. This is just circle. The whole team is going after him. There's just no way he's going to score. And then where does his user do it? And then that user fails. And it looks like that guy got shot in the ass by a gun from the stands. And then now he's got him cornered. But no, he splits them both. One guy trips over his shoelaces and Justin is done. And I just love how he just leans over his chair in utter disbelief. So the Green Bay Packers go on
He's
to.
flashed out of there.
What did you say, Magic?
Flashed out of there because he's got a Flash T-shirt on. He's the fastest hero.
Well, the comment I liked the most, as I am trying to get that game score up here, is that was Savage because it was Darnell Savage. But 28-7 is the final score here. We did talk about this, that one thing Danny does excellently on defense is get those interceptions. Kirk Cousins 8 interceptions on the day. I heard somebody join chat. RVD, was that you?
Yeah, that's me.
Welcome to the show, RVD. We're gonna let you hit the ground running here. I know you've played Danny before. Justin had 8 interceptions. Tough way to try to beat a guy like Danny.
Yeah, with a guy like Danny, you definitely cannot make mistakes because he's going to capitalize on them. And that interception, I saw it posted earlier, and yeah, just how Justin got up, I can feel that at times. I can feel it.
Yeah, we've all been there. All right, so let's go from our most recent Super Bowl champion to our most frequent Super Bowl champion. Nino's Buffalo Bills took the field against AK's New York Jets. AK, he took the place of Roman. Roman, we felt like he just didn't have enough time to dedicate to AFL at this point. He's definitely welcome back, but needs to be a little bit more prompt on some things going on with AFL. But we had predicted this was going to be one of the more lopsided games on our Week 1 preview show. AK stepping in, I think, would have changed my prediction a little bit, but Nino he's just hitting on all cylinders right now. He's playing outstanding defense. He's protecting the ball on offense. And yeah, the game was not close. So we're going to dive right in now to a play here. Already up 21-0. The Bills in the second quarter. And Josh Allen finds John Brown for an easy pitch and catch touchdown. The Bills go up 28-0 and go on to blow out the New York Jets and AK. So Magic, probably not a huge surprise that Nino starts off strong. Is there anything though that we can gain from this 56-7 drubbing the Bills had over the Jets?
It kind of looks like Nino's picking up where he leaves off every Madden, where he looks like he's going to crush teams that he should and be a problem. What the young kids say.
Now, Sham, you always have a theory that the best Madden players are the ones that start off the strongest, and eventually, as the year goes on, people will learn like the cheats and the nanos and the meta, but maybe the guys that are truly the best at Madden are the ones that start stronger. It's hard to argue with a guy like Nino, who seems to always be good in year number 1. Sham.
I'm here. I'm not commenting on Nino.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, there's nothing to say. I mean, listen, Nino, he's like Stokes 2.0. I mean, it's nothing. There are not many holes in their game. You can't really make any mistakes. I see guys. I mean, literally, guys make the same mistakes over and over again. The best thing that you can do is probably dink and duck and just hopefully that you can just go up. I mean, it's stupid almost watching the in either league, whether it's PS4 or AFL, watching those guys. You know, kind of just try to do the same shit against them. So it is what it is. It's Nino, whatever.
So Nino gets off to a 1-0 start, and now RVD, we're up to your game where it was an NFC West battle between the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. RVD's Cardinals against Costa's 49ers. We said this game was going to be close, and we said I remember saying on the podcast that I felt like I was going to pick Costa to win because I felt like there was a huge advantage at the defensive line against the Arizona Cardinals offensive line. But RVD, this was a game that you led throughout. You actually had a 17-7 lead before Costa outscored you 21-0 in the fourth quarter. But what we're going to take a look at here, once I can, yes, I wanted to make sure I had the stats right, is we are going to take a look here in the fourth quarter with the 49ers holding on to a 4-point lead. They go in for the kill shot with Raheem Mostert. Mostert had 183 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns on the day. That was the dagger. The 49ers get the victory over your Cardinals. RVD, just quickly, RVD, what went wrong in that game? What happened to the 10-point lead? RVD, are you there? We might be having some technical issues.
I'm trying to. I'm cutting in and out.
Oh, I got you now.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, the audio that I'm hearing is going in and out, so I figured I might be too. I led for most of the game because I came out different from what Costa was expecting. I came out with a lot of runs and just kind of swapped up to passes depending on what I saw. But I just kind of got out of my game plan and fall there.
All right. Well, yeah, he was cutting a little bit in and out, but I think we got the gist. It looks like he forced himself out of his ideal game plan. We are going to move on now to what I thought could have been the game of the week. And I'm just going to go circle back with main chat just to make sure nobody's saying that anybody else is having audio issues. Oh, they're just laughing about the Danny highlight that we all enjoyed. But our guy Goof making his return to Madden after what I think was probably a 4-year Madden hiatus. I know it's been a while since he's played Madden, and he was taking on Mustang, who's been playing Madden consistently the last few years. We all picked Mustang to win this game, and we all said that it could be an experience factor with Goof, but guys, Goof hung tight. This game was down to the wire late, and we're gonna hop in down here now with a situation where the Rams, are trailing by 7, minute and a half to go. Jared Goff hits Cooper Kupp in the end zone to tie it up with a touchdown. Goof is celebrating, Kupp is celebrating, and all we need here is a successful extra point attempt, and we are going to be headed to, oh no, Goof. Not even close. Misses the extra point. Sadness in LA, elation in Dallas. The Cowboys win on a missed extra point. Heartbreaking way to lose your game, Magic. I know you had a missed extra point in your game. We'll get to that, but heartbreaking way to lose your return to AFL.
Yeah, that's tough. To get what you think was a game-tying score with a minute and a half left. And you just miss an extra point. That's supposed to be a gimme point, and that's the negative. On the plus side, though, you don't play Madden for a few years. You pick it right up, and you're in the game all the way to the very end. I mean, that's look for a positive. That's how you can do it. Yes.
Against a player like Mustang, who is generally not going to beat himself, although surprisingly, Dak Prescott had 3 interceptions this game. But it was Ezekiel Elliott, as we're used to with Mustang, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, just too much to handle. Solid day passing from Goof, though. Jared Goff, 248, 3 touchdowns, one of which we saw before. But at the end of the day, it came down to some kicker named Sloman, who I've never heard of, missing an extra point. Oh boy, it looks like Goof was 1 for 4 on extra points. So that's not ideal. Not great, Bob. So we are going to move on now to the Steelers and Giants. And this was interesting because this is Luka against Edub. Previously, this was a rivalry in AFL. These guys did not get along well, but when you're away from somebody for long enough, generally you can find some common ground and find reasons not to hate each other. This was a very exciting game throughout, though. The Giants busted out to a 14-point lead, and then the Steelers answered back with 21 unanswered, with the Giants coming back and tying it up late. And that's where we're going to pick it up here with this highlight. It is an iced field goal attempt from the Giants for the win with 4 seconds left. Anybody that's tried to kick iced field goals knows how difficult they are, but no problem for Edub as he puts it through the uprights, and the Giants get a 24-21 victory over Luka's Pittsburgh Steelers. Sham, any thoughts on this game? I'm afraid to ask, but I know you're probably happy for your Jersey buddy in Edub.
Actually, I would. I love to see Edub lose because his commentary after it's classic. But it was a really good game, though. It was funny seeing Edub getting. I thought Edub was going to just run away with the game. And once I saw Luka coming back, I thought he was going to run away with it, and just kind of seeing how it played out at the end. Yeah, it was one of the better games I think that I saw this past week.
Luka caught some flack for trading for Tyree Jackson this offseason, but I thought he played well in this game. 69% nice completion percentage, 238, 3 touchdowns, did have 3 interceptions, made some really nice plays, though. He does have good speed, has elite throw power, does have to work on the accuracy, but I think Luka needs to be more encouraged by what he saw from Jackson, although there was a situation late in the game where it was a pass by Jackson that let him down, interception, totally inaccurate throw, set up that game-winning field goal. That's just RVD, those are just the bumps and bruises you have to live with when you start a young quarterback, correct?
Yeah, definitely, especially one that has such low accuracy as Tyree. He's got those parts that are hard to build. Accuracy you can build up, definitely, but he's got that speed and he's got that arm strength there. So I think over time, especially after what we saw with that first game, over time we're going to see a lot of good things from him.
And I know this made Luka happy that Brandon Ayuk had 126 yards on 13 receptions and 2 touchdowns in that game. That was a big trade he made with the 49ers and Costa. But the Giants and Edub get the victory there. And we are now going to move on. Oh, Sham, you might want to cover your eyes, buddy, because we're going to talk about our game, the Buccaneers and the Saints. So this was actually, Sham, you and I have played a lot of Madden against each other, and it could be one of those things where we're just so familiar with each other that you expect a close game. But I thought you played well. This game was close throughout. I pulled away late, and I think one of the bigger issues with this game, I want to get the stats up just to make sure I'm correct in this. Yes, is was just turnovers. Four interceptions by Breeze, another one by Hill. The highlight here that we're going to show is you're down by 10 with the game's pretty much over, but Taysom Hill is in trying to make anything happen. And Sean Murphy Bunting gets his second interception of the day, five turnovers in general. Not a way to live in AFL throwing that many turnovers. Now, I had three with Brady also. It was an ugly offensive performance by both of us. But Sham, I came away from that game impressed by what you were doing. You took away the deep ball very well. I had to keep checking it down, and I thought you were making some really good reads in the passing game, with the exception, obviously, of some of those poor decisions. Were you encouraged by your performance, or are you disappointed?
Well, honestly, I'm not really shocked because like Cody and I, we played enough, like laughing enough to where just taking little tips from him here and there. But like you said, even before the start of the first week, it's once that first turnover and then the second turnover, it kind of snowballs, and you didn't you forgot about the fumbles. When Mike Thomas fumbled, I was just like, okay, yeah, that's about it for me. So, but
Yeah,
I was if anything, I didn't run enough. Like I thought I did well passing, but I just didn't run enough. So
Yeah, that definitely shows up in the box score. Alvin Kamara only seven carries. Drew Brees had one attempt, probably either a kneel down or a quarterback sneak. And then Mike Thomas, you mentioned, I don't remember the play, but one rushing attempt and a fumble. Maybe that was like a screen pass that went down as a rushing attempt. I don't remember it, but I do remember a Thomas fumble that definitely turned the momentum in that game. But I think there's a lot of positives to take from that game for yourself. And will be interesting to see how your team rebounds in week number two. For me, I'm still feeling out these Bucks. I've seen Danny do some great things with them in a different league. Passing is not my strength, but it's definitely the strength of the Bucks. And I will say that at least for 1 week, I did not see a dominant pass rush out of Barrett and Mack, and that was disappointing to say the least when I invested so heavily in those two edge threats. Magic, you're up now as Joker's one and only game in AFL this season. Well, at least so far. Is going to be on the docket next. And Magic, this was interesting to me because on the pregame show, this was one of those matchups similar to Danny and Justin, similar to Nino and what we thought was going to be Roman at the time, where you had somebody who hadn't played much Madden at all against somebody who we consider a Super Bowl contender who's been playing it almost nonstop, and we predicted a blowout. We got the blowout in the Justin versus Danny case. We got the blowout in the Nino versus what ended up being AK case. What we didn't get was a blowout in this game. In fact, down until the final minute of the game, your Chiefs were in the lead. 32 seconds to go, as we're seeing here on your screen. Texans down by three. Magic holding on in a back and forth game with Joker. You can see Joker now setting up a play, trying to find it, and he gets Kenny Stills wide open in the back of the end zone. I have no idea, zero idea what that safety was doing. In fact, I don't know if I can cue this up to do that again, but I want to pull that back up just to.
oh shit!
I don't
I'm sorry.
understand. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna have to go back through the hot routes and everything, but what is that safety doing?
Wasn't that Honey Badger?
Is it Joker does pull up that was Honey Badger. I don't understand. So he's not biting on the crossing route. Magic's not usering him. I don't understand. Terrible way to lose the game. But Magic in general, I think similar to Sham, but maybe even more so. Um, you really impressed me with your passing offense in this game, with your reads. You were making some very good throws. You were drawing up some very good route concepts. Your defense was playing well. Overall, I know it's all about the win with you, but I think on some level you have to be encouraged to take someone like Joker to the bell like that.
And I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's just Madden, guys. You know? I don't know. Maybe Joker's just not that good. Maybe that's the thing. Um, no, I don't know. I mean, it was fun. it being a back and forth game and not get blown out like 77-3 or something like that. I hear that happened.
Shootout between Mahomes and Watson. Watson 419, four touchdowns. Mahomes 343 and four touchdowns. Neither one of you got much going on the ground, but that's to be expected when you two take the field. Tyreek Hill 136 and two touchdowns, and for Joker it was Brandon Cooks 216 yards and two touchdowns. And then of course you got the big one at the end with Kenny Stills. So we have now put a bow on that game, and we are going to go down to, bear with me, the Cincinnati Bengals and the LA Chargers. And on the pregame show, this is Trav against Laura. On the pregame show, guys, we talked about how I thought these two skill wise were pretty even just from what I've seen. Who knows? It's a new game. A lot of this is so much guesswork. But we were going through it, and I was like, I've seen some good things from Trav, and I'm going to pick him to win. And then as the other guys were going through their points, we point out the fact that, wait a minute, the biggest mismatch maybe in the entire landscape of week one is the awful offensive line of the Bengals and the tremendous pass rush of the Chargers. And it forced us all who were on the predictions podcast to end up predicting that Laura would win the matchup. And guys, that's exactly what happened. And this one was not close. I think it had to do a lot with teams, but Laura played well. We're going to go here with a highlight. Another Joe Burrow making his NFL debut for Trav, and another young quarterback struggling with a bad throw there to Casey Hayward. Casey Hayward's going to take this all the way back for a touchdown. Chargers go up 14 to nothing, and they will never look back in this game, and they will go on to win this one quite comfortably. As soon as he finishes this highlight, we will get the final score up for you. Boom, 34 to 14. And this is just another situation, guys, where I think when you have a young quarterback and then a team like the Bengals that is underdeveloped, they have players that you can build, but you just have to be patient with it. There's going to be bumps in the road like this. There's going to be times where your team is overmatched. There's going to be times where your young quarterback is the moment is a little too big for him, but you have to stay the course, continue to build him. And I think if you're patient and you play the long game with someone like Burrow, someone like Tyree Jackson earlier, it's only going to pay off in the long run. So we are going to move on now to what I thought was the game of the week, the matchup of the Codys, as Cody Stitzel's Seattle Seahawks took on Cody Rankin's Atlanta Falcons. This game was insane. It was back and forth the entire time. We said this game was going to be close, and we also said that based on what we know about these guys, this game could have a lot of playoff implications if, depending on who won the matchup. So we're going to hop in here in the fourth quarter, and the Seahawks are down by 3 on the 37-yard line, attempting to kick an iced kick. And for those of you that have kicked an iced kick before, kicking it on the 1-yard line is hard to do. The 37-yard line, and Cody does not care about ice. Jason Myers drills the 54-yard field goal to send this thing to overtime. And then in overtime on the first drive, Seahawks get the ball. They drive down. Russell Wilson making some checks at the line, finds DK Metcalf in the back of the end zone, and the Seahawks get a massive, massive week one win in a game that could have a lot of implications on NFC standings, playoff standings. Big win for the Seahawks, crushing loss for the Atlanta Falcons. Sham, I know you're friends with both Codys, but just in general, what's your thought on this game? Did anything surprise you? I think we expect both of these Codys to be pretty successful. What were your overall thoughts on this game?
Well, I thought Cody, yes. I wasn't surprised. I was surprised by how close it was. It could have, like you said, it could have went either way. But I was just surprised that he didn't allow his nerves to get the best of him because, for one, that Seattle O line is shit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he did what he was supposed to do when it counted. So that's all that really matters.
All right, so Russell Wilson, 288, four touchdowns. We had Matt Ryan, 225, and two touchdowns. For the Falcons, it was Todd Gurley show with 104 yards and one rushing touchdown. But the Seahawks come away with a big victory on the back of DK Metcalf, 119 yards and two touchdowns, one of which was the game ender in overtime. So we are going to say goodbye to that game, and we are going to go to a battle of NFC East rivals as K. Will's Philadelphia Eagles took on Prime's Washington football teams. almost almost. Um,
Oofed.
and this was one where on the pregame show we talked about that we neither one of these guys obviously played in a franchise in Madden 20, but we knew K Will had been at least playing Madden 20, where I think Prime took the entire year off from the game. So while I think over the course of AFL 21, these two will probably be very close and neck. I think at least out of the gate, K Will would have an advantage. We all agreed. And then when you look at the teams they have, it was also advantage K Will. So we thought K Will would win this game, and we can pat ourselves on the back. We were right in this instance because the Philadelphia Eagles came away with a 33-14 victory over the Washington football teams on the back of running back Miles Sanders, who may get a Player of the Week award because he went for 236 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, absolutely crushed the hopes of all the Washington football team football fans at the football game. And the Eagles with a big week 1 victory over their division rivals. It's always nice when you can see division rivals um, do battle week 1, and we got a lot of that just because of the way the schedule
Right.
lined up. We are gonna try to pull that game up here on just so you guys can see that I'm not lying. Looks like Haskins struggled big time, guys. He was 45% completion. Prime's just getting his timing back. 9 of 20, two touchdowns, 3 interceptions. But as we mentioned before, it was the Miles Sanders show. 236 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just hard to win a game when you can't stop the run like that. Credit to K Will for getting off to a strong start. Magic, and for Prime, I don't think we have a lot of concern. I think this is just a guy knocking off some rust, and we expect him to be very competitive in short order.
Yeah, yeah. When Prime first came in, he was kind of a tomato can. Apparently, that means you're easy. But then he became one of these perennial playoff teams. So I think this is what you're saying is just a case of rust. But I'm really surprised that that was the stat line that K will put up. Was that 11 pass attempts with 9 completions between two quarterbacks? It's not the K will that I remember. This isn't the dude who's just out here running around behind the line of scrimmage, chucking it up and putting a quick 35 on your head.
K Will's
Oh,
old
well,
line
I
was
got to 33, so maybe it is.
his old line was if they're 1-on-1, they're open, right? And now
Yep.
it seems like, hey, if there's less than 8 in the box, we're running, right? So credit to K Will, big win, statement win for the Eagles, and we all here expect the Redskins to figure it out. And oh, Jesus, I said the Redskins. We all here expect the football teams to football team their way along and figure it out. We're just gonna move on before I offend anybody with saying something that I've been saying for the last 36 years. The
Oh,
another
you're old.
battle of division rivals, and if we talked about Goof and Stang being game of the week, we talked about the Cody Bowl being game of the week. If there was a third candidate for game of the week, and then we also had the Luca Edub game, and then Magic Joker was good. There were a lot of good games. This one here between the Bears and the Lions was right up there, and we caught the end of it live on AFL Advance last episode, and you can go back and check that out, and you can hear our commentary of how it all played out. But when you look at the box score of this game, West had a 23-7 lead. The West is the Bears, 23-7 lead over the Lions, and then the Lions scored 20, doing some quick math here, boom, 23 unanswered in the second half, 23 to nothing against the Bears in the second half. But this is where the game was decided, in my opinion. And I apologize for the choppiness of the video here. But here's a second and goal. Tevin Coleman gets the ball. To me, it looked like he got in the end zone, but they ruled him down at the 1 yard line. Very disappointing for the Bears. I thought for sure from my angle he got in the end zone. So on third down, West goes back to it, gets stuffed in the backfield, loses confidence in running the ball at this point. So he's now down by a touchdown still, and he goes away from the run. Probably smart because it is hard to run against those really stacked boxes down there at the goal line. So West decides to go back in an empty set in the shotgun, which does take away any chance of the defense thinking you're gonna run, and Stafford throws an interception. Stafford making his return to Detroit after being traded to Chicago this offseason, intercepted at the end of the game, and A-Bomb and the Lions get a thrilling week 1 victory over West and the Bears. RVD, I think we didn't know what to do with West or A-Bomb. I know A-Bomb had been playing a lot of Madden recently. Last year, West is a guy that I think had taken some time off, but maybe he was playing some draft champs. Both of these guys I thought impressed in this game, but man, when you blow a 23-7 lead to a division rival in week one, it stings.
Yeah, I caught actually about the beginning to midway through on this game and saw the score, and I had cut the stream off. I'd counted A bomb out, but wow, to see that come back, that's an awesome thing to see with A bomb. And I know he's been playing a lot. I'm in USFL with him, and so West put up a fight, and I hate to see him go out like that on week one.
This should be a fun rivalry to track as AFL goes on. It looks like West was able to successfully run the ball very well, 134 yards with Tevin Coleman and a touchdown. Couldn't get that last one late, although I still say he got in. But it looks like what did him in was Matt Stafford had 5 interceptions. Just hard to overcome that kind of turnover output in AFL. So we are now going to go down to we have the boom. Bear with me. Dun, 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 dun.
How does one bear with somebody? Do I growl at you or?
Well, you could claw, you could growl. It really, I think it's kind of open to the interpretation of the person who's doing the bearing with. We have the Carolina Panthers and Kimmy taking on Fish and the Raiders. On the
Okay.
prediction podcast, we all kind of picked the go Kimmy. We all kind of you have such an NBA grudge with Fish. Um, we all picked this as a game where we thought Fish should win, but this was maybe an upset special because we'd been seeing some good things from Kimmy in a different league. But Fish is a guy that I think is going to be right up there competing for championships in this league, making deep runs. And he did what he was supposed to do. He dominated this game, I think, from start to finish. It was close, and then he pulled away in the second half. And that's where we're going to pick this one up. Is in the second half, Fish has a 13-10 lead and puts the game away when first round draft picked Henry Ruggs gets past the defense, catching a bomb from rookie quarterback Cole McDonald, who, if you remember, Fisher got him in the rookie or in the free agent draft, one of the steals, I think, out there. And the Raiders get a 27-10 victory over the Carolina Panthers. Now, Magic, you said go Kimmy, but are you when in a game like this where Kimmy played tough and then late in the game gives up a score, probably tries to come back, gives up another score? Is it a situation where Kimmy can still take pride in the fact that, hey, I hung close with somebody who's considered a top gun, or do you look at it as a wasted opportunity? And I'm asking you because you are somebody who played a quote unquote top gun and could have had a wasted opportunity week one. Is it harder to get over it versus if it was a blowout where you could be like, well, I wasn't going to win that one anyway?
No.
Most of my
No, a blowout makes you feel like you had no chance and you have no idea what you're doing.
Hmm.
7 to 56 is like, well, shit, nothing I did made sense. If you're in the game for part of it, at least you're like, okay, this worked, this didn't work. I can go from somewhere. If it's late in the game, you just get the rugs pulled out from under you. Sometimes that happens.
Looks like for Kimmy, we had Christian McCaffrey with 130 rushing yards, but this game was lost on the arm of Teddy Bridgewater. 5 interceptions, just not going to get it done. Rookie quarterback Cole McDonald, strong performance, 11 for 15 for 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. If you don't believe me, boom, see for yourself. I have it up on screen, but I wasn't showing you guys. Solid performance by Cole McDonald. Josh Jacobs was held in check. Strong performance by Christian McCaffrey. But it seems like for Kimmy to have success in AFL 21, he's going to have to figure out if Teddy Bridgewater can be that guy to lead into success, because the first game with Bridgewater was not what he had in mind. 5 interceptions. So let's go now down to I believe is going to be the last game we have highlights for, and that is the New England Patriots and Reese taking on Pepe's Miami Dolphins. This was a game that we all picked Reese to win. We knew Pepe hadn't had a chance to really lab too much. We knew Reese was grinding, and Reese did not let us down. This game was not particularly close. Up 28-14 already. You see Jameis Winston connecting with Magic's old receiver Sammy Watkins over the middle, and they aren't going to catch Sammy Watkins. Gets into the end zone. Patriots go up 35-14, get a big victory over their division rival Miami Dolphins. Um, RVD at this point, I don't know how much you can draw from this other than the fact that both of these guys are in the same division with Nino. But at least for week number one, where we saw the Jets get blown out, we saw the Dolphins get blown out. Maybe Reese is the guy that if you're going to pinpoint somebody that could push Nino in this division, he seems to at least be the guy we would consider at this point. Correct?
Yep. Yeah, he's going to be the guy in the division that's going to push it if anyone is.
So it seems, I mean, you don't want to draw too much from one game. Tua had 5 interceptions. That's not ideal. Jameis Winston didn't have a great performance by any stretch either. He had 3 interceptions. Sloppy game. Looks like it could have been something that was decided more by turnovers than offensive success. But that's how it goes early on in the Madden season. All right, so we are gonna say bye to that game, and then we have a couple more games to talk about. Unfortunately, there's not footage from these games because the streamers, and it's okay, we didn't put this in the rules. The streamers did not archive their Twitch channels to capture what happened in these games. But it's very sad, unfortunately, for the Titans and the Broncos because this game sounded like it had a photo finish as Chef's Titans get a 19-17 victory over Flip's Broncos. And from what I understand, Flip missed a relatively easy field goal at the buzzer to lose the game. Very disappointing way for Flip to lose. Very big win for Chef. Titans go to 1-0. Broncos go to 0-1. And then in the AFC South, not quite as close. We had Stokes' Jacksonville Jaguars getting a 35-0 victory over Drops Jacksonville Jaguars. Going right to rushing stats for that to see what Stokes did. Leonard Fournette didn't let us down. 177 yards and 4 touchdowns on the day. All right, guys, that puts a bow on week number one. We are about to advance to week two, but before we get there, we have some business to take care of with week one. We need to hand out some game balls for performances that stood out to us. Now, before we get into this, I'm going to just triple check in chat just to make sure that nobody's saying that they can't hear us anymore, and they are good. All right, so we're going to go around the room here. Everybody's going to give out game balls to somebody, an owner, not a player, that they thought had a great performance in week number one. And I'm going to start with you, Sham. Who's gets your game ball for week number one?
Honestly, I'll give it to everybody. I saw more than half of the games, or this clips from them, and I think that everybody like put on some, except for the Stokes and Drop game. I think everybody put on a amazing, first week.
I don't mind that. I mean, a bunch of guys that took off Madden 20, getting in, getting active, actually getting impatient with us, not advancing. So I'm cool with that. Next week, I want you to pick somebody, and I'm going to make you do it, or I'm going to not let you have any more Taco Bell in your diet. RVD, who gets your game ball for week number one?
I threw this up in the air with two guys, but I'm going to have to go with K. Will to come back into AFL after being gone for a few years, and then to see a completely different side of him with that run game. That was just great to see. So K. Will gets my game ball.
All right, K. Will gets a game ball. Magic, who gets your game ball?
I'm going to give mine to JD. I don't remember if we talked about his game against the Browns, but it was 41-13. And I mean, the Browns are Bailey, who I think is good. At least he normally is. So to blow out a division rival in the first week, I mean, that's huge, man.
Hey, Magic, hold that thought for a second because I told you guys there were going to be mistakes made. And guess who made a mistake? This guy. Going to stop the game balls for a second. We're going to talk about the Baltimore Ravens 41-13 victory over the Cleveland Browns. And JD was on the podcast, came on with us last time right after the game ended and said the game was lost by Bailey throwing too many interceptions, probably some rust. Here's one here in the first quarter, already up 7-0, takes the interception back to the house, and the Ravens get a dominating 41-13 victory over Bailey and the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to put game balls back up on our screen. I appreciate Magic bringing that up because I would have totally forgotten. That would have been my bad. But to JD's point from last time, Baker Mayfield, 4 interceptions. We know Bailey's going to be good. I think very similar to Prime, knocking the rust off. And JD is no joke. JD has been playing a lot of Madden. He's got a good team that fits his style. and I totally expect Bailey to pull the nose up and to get over that game. And we'll talk about who he plays next week and whether we think he can get that done in week 2. So Magic's game ball goes to JD for that highlight we just saw. RVD, you gave your game ball to K Will, and it's on me now. And there's a couple guys that stood out to me. So I'm going to name the guys that stood out that I'm not going to give it to. I'm not going to give it to Reese, even though I thought, in that spot where we're looking for who's going to be that guy to step up and challenge Nino, 35-14 victory over Pepe. But I'm not quite sure where Pepe's at yet. I want to see Reese, beat somebody a little bit higher. But I think Reese is a guy that, especially with that 7th playoff spot, could really challenge for something. I can't give it to Joker at this point. I think those reasons are probably pretty obvious. Um, Edub makes sense, Chef makes sense, but guys, I'm gonna go with Cody Stitzel because to make an iced kick from 54 yards is insane with the game on the line just to send it to overtime. And to get through that and then win a game in overtime, you get my game ball because I said it on the pregame show. That's a huge game. Now, there's a limit to how big a game can be in week number 1, but when you look at the divisions, you look at the players, you project them forward to where you think they're going to be at the end of the year. These are 2 teams in my mind that are going to be neck and neck for the playoffs. Both of them should be in the playoffs or competing for playoff spots. This week 1 game could be the deciding factor between one team getting a bye, one team having home field advantage, one team being left out of the playoffs. So keep this in the memory bank. 30-24, Cody Stitzel, ice in his veins, doesn't care about the ice kick, and he gets the victory over Cody Rankin. Now, guys, if I could get one of you to be kind enough to post an announcement that we have advanced, I am on the game right now, and I'm going to advance us to week number 2.
All
Boom,
right.
boom.
I'll make it.
Force advance. And just like that, we are in week number 2.
Yeah.
So we have advanced, and RVD is making that announcement shortly. And we are going to transition now this show into a week 2 prediction show. As soon as this announcement's made, I'm gonna tag on with the schedule, and we will get going on our week 2 predictions. And we can go ahead and get started. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, you know what? Okay, week 2. RVD has made his announcement. AFL, we have advanced. I'm going to do unplayed. Boom. Didn't work. Wonderful. Damn it. I'm going to delete it and hide. All right, we have advanced. Game deadline is scheduled for Friday morning. Perfect. All right, guys, let's transition now. We talked about week 1. We know everything that happened in week 1, but now let's turn our attention to week 2. And I always like week 2. Every year to me, where is what's causing this to not show up? 1 second, folks. There it is. I think week 2 is always one of the most interesting weeks because, there's only so much you can learn about somebody in one game. But and I'm actually going to take away the scores from week 1 because we don't need those anymore because that's in the past. What you can learn about a team in 1 week, it's a small sample size. Maybe they drew a tough opponent. Maybe they just had a bad game, whatever. But in week 2, especially for the teams that lost week 1, that season can get late early. What you don't want to have happen is go to 0-2 and then 0-3 because there are statistics out there that when you start 0-2, it is tremendously difficult to find a way into the playoffs. And guys, when I look at week 2, we start off with a matchup of 2 teams who lost week 1 in blowout fashion, and one of which we just talked about, and they're division rivals. So when you talk about pressure, you talk about 2 teams that can't afford to lose again. This is going to be high stakes, high pressure, a battle of the Ohio in the AFC North. We have Bailey's Cleveland Browns taking on Trav's Cincinnati Bengals. When it comes to Trav, I think he's going to be better this year than the Trav we remember. He's in multiple leagues. He's in 3, I believe, including AFL. He's been playing a lot better from what I've seen. I think what's going to hold him back initially in AFL is not his skill set, but I think it's the skill set of his players. We saw it with some of the picks we saw from Joe Burrow and in the first game, and he takes on Bailey, who also had a shaky week one. But much like game one, where I pointed out that I thought that the matchup between the Chargers pass rush and the Bengals O line was a mismatch, I think it circles back this week to being the same thing. I don't see anybody on the Bengals offensive line that's going to stop Myles Garrett. I think this will be a very close game, but I think there'll be just a little bit too much Myles Garrett for Trav to handle. I think Bailey and the Browns get a victory. What do you think, RVD?
Yeah, I'd have to put with this with Bailey. I don't put much into that week one game. Bailey's a much better play than what we saw with that. I know Trav's gotten a whole lot better than what we've seen in the past in AFL. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this game.
Magic
Oh yeah, give me the Browns.
and Sham.
Go Browns.
All right, we're sweeping it. Let's go to a team that also lost a disappointing week one matchup. West's Chicago Bears. They are home. They return home after a disappointing week one loss to the Detroit Lions, and they take on a team that had a very exciting win week one. E-Dub's New York Giants. So West needs to find a way to get a victory to even it up to 1-1. Edub, I thought, was spotty in victory against Luca. It could be the fact that the Giants are just not very good. I don't know how much Edub's been playing. I give West a shot to win this game, but I can't pick against Edub in this spot. This to me reminds me kind of like the Kimmy Fisher game, where it wouldn't surprise me at all if West wins. West at his best in AFL has been a Super Bowl contender, and I think he has the chances to get back there. And quite frankly, I think he needs to win this game to not fall to 0-2, because I don't think Danny's going to lose many games this season. But it's a huge game for West. But I'm going to side with Edub. But guys, I'm ready to take a coin out of my pocket and flip it. I think this game could go either way. Sham, what do you think?
Uh, EW in a close one.
Magic
Wasn't listening.
and
Give me Edub.
and RVD.
I'm going to say that West learns from mistakes on week one and takes the victory here.
Yeah, if he can tone down those Matt Stafford interceptions, West looks like he's going to be a force, because he was getting the ball rolling with Tevin Coleman in a big way. All right, guys, two teams that won week one in the AFC South now do battle in good old Nashville, Tennessee, Nash Vegas, if you talk to the locals. RVD and I met up last year there in Nashville for a Bills Titans game before the world went to shit and nobody could travel anywhere. Nice city. Stokes travels there, so with Stokes in town, things are going to be all kinds of boring. But um, the Titans had a big victory over Flip, the missed field goal. But guys, I can't pick against Stokes. You look for anything, any sign of weakness in his game that makes you think maybe he's slipping, and then he comes out and just hammers drop 35-0. You want offense, he had offense. Leonard Fournette 4 touchdowns. You want defense, didn't give up a single point. I'm not picking against Stokes here. Good luck, Chef. I think this is a measuring stick game for your Titans. If you win it, great. It's a statement victory against somebody like Stokes. But if you lose, would just chalk it up to Stokes is just on a different level right now than most people in AFL. So I'm going to take the Jaguars. RVD, who do you like?
Got to go with Stokes. He's just playing ball, lights out ball, and so yeah, got to go with Stokes here.
Magic?
I'll take Stokes.
I know it's so hard for you to give Stokes a compliment, but you got to do it,
He
right?
plays with them.
And Sham.
Any holes in Stokes' game, his voice. Stokes, easy win.
All
No
right, guys.
jokes.
All right, guys. My game's up next with Kimmy. We're not going to predict my game just because it does. We don't want to talk about me too much. But in this game against Kimmy, I saw he lost last week. I still think he's better than the score. I think it got out of hand late. I certainly am not that good at Madden 21 yet, so I'm certainly not taking him lightly. And for me, having beaten the Saints last week, I know if I can get this one in the bank too and get 2 division wins already in the young season, that's big for my team. But I got to play smart. I can't turn the ball over. And I got to be ready to stop Christian McCaffrey, because Kimmy right now seems to have a very, very strong running game. We are going to turn our attention now to an AFC battle between two teams that lost heartbreaking games week one. We have Flip's Denver Broncos taking on Luca's Pittsburgh Steelers. Tyree Jackson going against Drew Lock. Both of these quarterbacks had their up and down moments from week number one. Which quarterback is going to be able to rebound and get it going in week number 2. I'm going to say Flip gets it done. I think Flip right now plays the right style for what you need to do in the early part of Madden. And what I mean by that is I think Luca has more of the I'm going to go out there and I'm going to throw the ball all over the yard mindset, where I think Flip is content to run the ball, throw safe passes, be smart with it, and not beat himself. So I think in a situation where two teams are starting young quarterbacks, that I'm going to err on the side of choosing the guy who's a little bit more safe. So I think this could be considered a little bit of an upset because of where people, where I think Luke is a guy that can compete for the playoffs. Flip can also, obviously, but I just think early on in the Madden season, the way Flip plays, it's more beneficial to play the way he plays. So I'm going to say the Broncos get an upset and get a victory in Pittsburgh. RVD, what do you think?
Flip, I believe, can definitely win this, but I'm gonna have to go with Luca based off of what I saw in Week 1.
And Magic?
Give me the Sixburg Steelers.
Sixburg. And Sham?
Flipping a close one.
You could say this game's a flip of a coin.
Oh,
Eh,
I,
eh.
Oh,
Get
look at
it?
what you
See,
did there.
because his name is Flip, guys. All right, so let's talk
Oh.
about now the guy who got RVD's game ball in week 1, K. Will and the Philadelphia Eagles, fresh off of a pretty decisive victory over Prime's Washington football teamers. And they head back home this week to take on Goof's LA Rams. I'm going to stop right here and give everybody that's listening the same exact tip I gave Goof on extra points. There's a glitch in the kick meter. I don't know if it's been fixed by a recent patch. I couldn't tell you. But what I would tell all of you to do is whenever you're kicking a field goal or kicking off, just count to 5 before you start the meter. It seems to let the meter eliminate any glitches in itself. So if you're able to, if the clock's not running down on you, just take a deep breath, count to 5, and then start the meter, and you can avoid the glitch. So hopefully that helps. In this matchup, though, man, K. Will did not look like he took off Madden 20 at all. He was hitting on all cylinders. He's running the ball with Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, actually, we can probably check that right now. I'm assuming he was the AFL Player of the Week for week number 1. I'm going to pull that up right now, and it was Miles Sanders for NFC offense, Savage, Darnell Savage for NFC defense. We wouldn't have it any other way with that return. And then Josh Allen for the AFC offense with 5 touchdowns, and Jason McCourty, 4 interceptions for Reese with defense. But let's get back to the K-Will game. Look, I thought Goof played well against Stang, but when you look at the box score, when you look under the hood of that game, it seemed like maybe that game was closer just because of the interceptions Stang was making on offense and the way K. Will's running the ball right now. I don't expect him to make those same mistakes. I would love to see Goof be able to keep it close, but I think this is a pretty decisive victory for the Eagles early in the year. K. Will just seems like he's playing smart. He's going to run the ball well. Give me the Eagles, and I think it's going to be pretty decisive. Magic, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles too. After we saw how Cable ran the ball last week and how Zeke ran the ball against Goof last week, we might see a repeat performance.
RVD
I'm gonna have to go with K. Will.
and Sham.
KY Jelly for the win.
All right. Well, the guy who was on the benefit, who was the beneficiary of that missed extra point, Mustang, heads home this week to take on Cody Rankin and the Atlanta Falcons. So you had one team that on a missed kick won a game, and then you have one team that on a heartbreaking iced kick that went in from 54 yards lost a game, and they now do battle in the NFC. And this to me, without looking at the rest of the games, without analyzing them, this to me is already on my short list for most important games of the week. So, with a guy like Mustang, when you look around the division, K. Will looks like he's going to be just fine. Edub won week 1, and we think he has a winnable game week 2. But then again, we saw some flaws in Edub's game. Maybe there's some room to make up. If Stang can beat the Falcons, get 2 NFC wins under his belt right off the bat, that's going to just build that resume when you start talking about tiebreakers to get him into the playoffs. Unfortunately, I don't think he gets it done this week. I think it's going to be a close game, but I like a lot of what I saw from Cody Rankin last week with the Falcons. He was running the ball well with Gurley. He was making good reads in the passing game. I think he's going to button up some of the mistakes he made defensively, some of the things he made down the stretch in that game that he's probably regretting. I expect Cody Rankin to be a guy that's there at the end competing for playoff spots, division titles, and maybe even making deep playoff runs. But it's hard to do that if he starts off 0-2. So to stick with that prediction, I say say the Falcons get a win in Dallas. Give me Cody Rankin against Mustang. RVD, who do you like?
Cody talked up very highly of Cody, so I'm going to choose Cody.
Do y'all get that? Cody likes Cody, so RVD's taking Cody. Sham?
Whatever.
We've reached the point in the show where Sham is going to start telling us what's on sale at Taco Bell this week and Magic.
I'll take the Falcons. They're the birds.
All right, Danny's Green Bay Packers looked like a juggernaut last week against Justin. They take on A-Bomb's Detroit Lions, who had a big win against the Bears last week where they came from behind, won a big game, and now they travel to Lambeau. This is a great spot for A-Bomb because got a win last week against the Bears. If he can find a way to beat Danny in week 2, 2-0 in his division, and then taking down the guy that we all think is going to, be the favorite to win that division, what a start to the season that would be for A-Bomb, especially when you look at how he came back against West last week. Sadly, I don't think it gets done for A-Bomb this week. Similar to what I said about Stokes, until I see a reason to pick against Danny, I'm just not going to do it in a spot like this. I'm going to say the Packers win and probably win decisively. RVD, what do you think?
Danny's playing too well right now. I'm going to have to go with Green Bay.
Magic?
I agree.
And Sham.
Danny DeVito.
All right. Well, we have what could be a fascinating matchup based on what happened week 1. We have Drops Indianapolis Colts going against Justin's Minnesota Vikings. Now, look, here's what I know about both of these guys. Both of these guys have not played much Madden recently, but both of these guys want to be good. And they both drew super tough matchups week 1 with Danny and Stokes, respectively. So when you look at it from that standpoint, they both get softer landing spots in week 2 with each other. I for these guys, maybe the goal is a little bit different in year 1. Maybe the goal in year 1 is to just get back into the Madden groove. Maybe it's to get used to doing things like building a team through XP practice mode and then finding ways to win games. So when you get to year 2, when you're kind of warmed up with Madden, you get that down. But this is the kind of game, though, that they could, if they win, build momentum on and give them reasons to believe for year 1. I like Justin in this matchup, even though there were some things I saw, especially offensively, with some timing issues in the passing game. I didn't like. I saw some great defense out of Justin. I think he's got a little bit better team. I think he can figure out what to do in on offense if he focuses a little bit more on Dalvin Cook. He had some unfortunate drops. I know Justin Jefferson let him down one time in the end zone, and I didn't get to see what happened in the Colts game. It wasn't archived, 35-0. I'm guessing it wasn't very pretty. I'm going to take Justin and the Vikings over drop. RVD, what do you think? RVD may have stepped away. Magic, what do you think about Justin against drop?
I can't pick someone who just lost without scoring a point, so give me the Vikings.
I know, they say that you have to at least score a point to win in the NFL. That's analytics. Sham, what do you think?
Yeah, JT.
All right. Well,
I'm gonna have to go with JT as well, just because of the Viking team alone. I think he's got the advantage there.
So we all agree that JT is going to beat drop. So another game I think we're all going to agree on. Nino's Buffalo Bills looked strong as ever week number 1. This week they head to Miami to take on Pepe's Miami Dolphins. Look, Pepe, I wish you the best, but I know you're grinding at work right now. That's way more important than anything we're talking about. But I just don't think anything that you're going to put on the field is going to be enough to beat Nino right now the way he's playing. Give me the Bills, and I don't think it's going to be there very close. Magic?
Sweep it.
Sham?
Whatever.
And RVD.
Pepe's already asked him when Nino wants to beat him 72-0, so I'm gonna have to go with Nino.
That's sorry, I was getting distracted by something. All right, well, Pepe obviously has the right mindset going into the game. 72-0 sounds good. I don't know. I might take Pepe in the points at 72. Let's see. The San Francisco 49ers and Costa off of a big win last week over RVD's Arizona Cardinals. Sorry, RVD. They are taking on the New York Jets and AK. AK had a tough draw. He found out he was the Jets, and then like 2 hours later he was playing Nino. So not ideal circumstances. Now he has a chance to kind of like settle in with his team, see where he's at, and see what he can do against the 49ers. But I liked a lot from what I saw with Costa last week. He was patient in the running game, he played good defense, he got behind, he didn't panic. I think that'll be enough this week, especially when you look at the two teams. I think that the 49ers have a pretty significant advantage over the Jets. I think Costa's playing well right now, and I expect Costa to get a big win in New York and improve to 2-0. Sham, what do you think? RBD, what do you think?
I'm gonna have to go with Costa. I think AK is still trying to figure out New York, and so San Francisco is just the better team. So I'm gonna go with them.
And what's the Jick pick?
San Fran.
San Francisco. All right, RBD, we're not going to pick your game on this podcast, but you take on Prime's Washington football team. We talked about his struggles last week. We also talked about how you pretty much let a game slip away. What is your mindset now, knowing that A, the pressure is on you to get a win because you don't want to fall to 0-2, and also not to take a guy like Prime lightly just because he struggled in week one, because we all know what Prime is capable of?
Yeah, I was actually Prime's first game in AFL, and he beat me because I took him lightly because
Hmm.
I had no clue who he was. So now I do, and despite having Washington, he's a good owner. So I've just got to stick to my game plan and keep going with that, and not get out of it.
All right, and from one person on this podcast game to another, Magic, your Chiefs try to bounce back this week, and you keep it in the division. You go against Lara's Chargers. They had a dominant victory over the Bengals last week. You had that heartbreaking loss to Joker. You're going against one of the best pass rushes in the entire sport. What are you thinking now going into this matchup against Lara?
Pass it so fast he can't rush me.
Smart. Well, you got the right weapons to do it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking it's Madden. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just going to pick up the controller and hope for the best.
Yeah, whatever time we pick, I'll show up. That'll be the hour I dedicate to Madden, and then pick it up again in a few days.
Dedication. All right. Well, one thing we're all looking forward to this week is Shadow's AFL return as his Houston Texans 1-0 thanks to an assist by Joker week number 1. The Houston Texans play host to the Baltimore Ravens and JD. JD looked like a machine last week, annihilating Bailey, getting turnovers, moving the ball well. I have not seen Shadow play in a couple years. We all know this rivalry goes back to JD losing an NFC Championship game, basically giving up a Hail Mary to Shadow, where he called a cover three in a Hail Mary situation, and that led to Shadow getting his first and only AFL Super Bowl. I expect a different result this time around. Newer guy learning his team. I think JD's locked in right now with his Ravens. I would be surprised if JD lost this game, but I'm not going to count Shadow out. I just don't know where he's at right now, Madden wise, and I know JD's good, so I'm going to sign with the guy who is good. RVD, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with JD. He's playing really well, and that Ravens team is just outstanding.
Magic?
Yeah, JD, comfy.
Oh, Sham's laughing, so you must be back. Sham, what do you think?
Yeah. Uh, fuck you, Shadow, and the cat you walk. Go, JD.
All right, the New England Patriots and Reese with the big victory over the Dolphins last week look to get to 2-0, but it's not going to be easy. They take on Cody Stitzel, my game ball winner from last week, and the Seattle Seahawks. I think this is going to be a good matchup. Both these guys, I think, have been playing the game quite a bit. I think the Seahawks have a little bit better roster, and I'm going to say the Seahawks get a victory over Reese this week. But this is one of those games, another take a coin out, flip it. Won't surprise me either way. But for right now, I'm going to side with Cody and the Seahawks. RVD?
Uh, yeah, Cody's playing really well right now, so definitely gonna have to go with Seattle.
Magic?
I'm gonna take the Patriots.
I like it. It's good that we disagree every once in a while. Makes it interesting. Sham, what do you think?
Go,
I didn't catch that. Did it break up for everybody else?
Yeah.
uh, Cody S.
Oh, Cody, yes, gotcha. All right, and then Sham, the last game of the week is yours. You take on Fisher's Raiders. Fisher got a victory over the Panthers last week, and you lost to my Bucks. Fisher's good. Fisher's a guy that we all think is going to contend for playoff spots, division titles, and all that fun stuff. What do you have to do to avoid going 0-2?
No turnovers.
All right. We're going to hold you to that. We're going to circle back and see on the next podcast if Sham was able to be turnover free in his week 2 game. That's the slate for week 2. We hope you guys enjoyed our show, and good luck in your week 2 matchups in AFL. And we will talk to you next time on AFL Advance.